9 on the field, 16 on the bench, 15 in the minors. There's only so much teams can do to boost a 40-man roster. If they add one piece, they have to subtract another. What if a team took a new approach, though? Instead of improving their roster one piece at a time, they improved each and every one on it. All right, well, let's talk to the man who brought the Bears out on the ice, Brady Anderson, joining us now. Brady, you had a bit of a down year last year, but this year things have really picked up. What would you say is the biggest reason for such a jump in production? Here we have the battle of the ball bench bosses, Claude Julien and the Bruins, taking on Barry Trotz and the Caps. A couple of chins there, too, and maybe a missing neck. Due to injury, Doug Corby was unable to put up the numbers of a Brian Blasco of Calgary or a Brett Jones of Acadia. However, after an impressive day on the bench yesterday and turning in the fastest time in today's 40, don't be surprised if he goes ahead of those other two in this year's CFL draft. When it comes to women's curling in Canada, one name stands out above them all. Jennifer Jones. Jennifer Jones. Jennifer Jones. The Winnipeg native has been a model of consistency over the last 2 decades, starting with a national junior championship in 1994. Is it tough at all to come in as the new guy and then establish yourself as a starting goalie? It may seem like the hot stove couldn't get any hotter for the league's top potential free agent, but unless he signs a contract extension over the next month, it'll get cranked up much further. Stamkos' next game against the Leafs comes right here at the Air Canada Centre on February 29th, which also happens to be the same day as the NHL's trade deadline. From Toronto, Rodney Hiemstra, CSM. John held his ground at second there for a bit while that ball was still traveling through the air. Were you worried that there was a chance he might not get around to score?
Not at all. That kid can fly.
Some nerd wrote that, Khalil. Yesterday's deadline was dominated by the Pittsburgh Penguins for most of the day as the Plachka-Plotnikov trade sent shockwaves across the NHL landscape. Okay, it was a pretty slow morning. The 38-year-old from Montreal has not only done enough to earn himself a likely lucrative contract extension, he's also garnered enough acclaim from both sides of the border to become the odds-on favorite to win Executive of the Year. Picking this one up in the third quarter, Philly up 1. Ish Smith penetrates and kicks out to Isaiah Cannon. He shoots better than Nick Cannon, and after the shot, he lets John Wall hear about it. That only upset Wall. No way he was going to lose to the 76ers. Now last in the standings, the Toronto Rock attendance has dropped about 9,000 fans a game from what it was about a decade ago. Perhaps the success of the Toronto Raptors and the Blue Jays has taken away from that, but either way, the best way to get back to selling tickets is to get back to winning. For some reason in the NHL, the best choice for elite free agents always seems to be exactly where they are. Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are still marching along as Penguins. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane will continue to blow the competition away in the Windy City until 2022. The mighty Ryan Getzlaf and Corey Perry appear to be Ducks for life, while Alex Ovechkin continues to capitalize on his 13-year deal in Washington. And with less than 40 games remaining in the schedule, that won't affect the term before free agency. That's the NHL's equivalent of having your cake and eating it with really expensive utensils. Fior off the block and down. The Toronto Varsity Blues complete the perfect season. They will head to the CIS Championships in Brandon, Manitoba next weekend, and they'll do it draped in gold. Smith to his left, 3 receivers on the right. The handoff, there's that sweep again to Kaprowski. He's got room, turns the corner, and he's in for the score. Back up top, she goes to Garnham. Garnham winds and shoots again. This time it does go through. U of T's first power play goal of the year puts them out on top, 1-0. Speaking of Aylmer, we'd like to give a special shout out to Mark Holmes, who was one of the event organizers of Beginner Fun Day down there. It was a great event for young kids, and you can catch all that excitement on Eastlink Magazine with Katie right here on Eastlink TV Channel 10. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Home Ice. I'm Rodney Hiemstra.
And I'm Scott Bridge.
Thanks for watching.